Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grip Lock, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor and Konner.
Hey.
We've got the Ale Open, or for you Southerners, the Ale Open.
Ale Open.
That went down this past weekend. We also had the USADGC. We'll talk through a little bit, mainly because, as always, there's some controversy.
It's funny it's USA, even though it's amateur in this case, but it's just US. So
U.S.
crazy.
Amateur Disc Golf
It should be the USAA.
It's pronounced immature, Trevor.
And we should hopefully be able to have some time to get to our top 10 today. We'll also have a little Trevor's trivia action. So all that will be brought to you right after a quick word from our sponsors. Listen, you at home.
Hi. Here, I'll be at home.
So personable.
Hello, Hunt. I'm a big fan.
Shut up. My turn to talk.
Yes, sir.
Do you like receiving new Frisbees on a regular basis?
Genuinely, I do.
Maybe monthly?
Wait, okay, you're at home now? Okay.
I'm just answering.
This is just for the crowd, the audience.
Sorry,
Whoever.
I can't. You said something about Frisbees, and I chimed in. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I love the Frisbees.
Well, then I got just the thing
hate
for you. We have over at FoundationDisc.com, you can find a 3-disc or a 2-disc subscription box. And I know what you're thinking. Why would I want to pay just to get whatever disc you're sitting on your shelf? Well, Edwin, I'm glad you asked.
You're wrong.
Actually,
You're wrong.
That's not what Edwin sounds like at all.
Not at all.
Edward. We'll go with Edward. That's probably what Edward sounds like.
Edward Stats.
Ed Wine.
Ed Wine. Anyways, no, these boxes are specifically curated to a theme each and every month, meaning that we work with manufacturers to order either custom stamp disc or specific disc to fit our theme for the 3-disc and the 2-disc box each and every month. So the 2-disc box is relatively new because we asked and we polled the audience, and a lot of people were like, I love the 3-disc box. I really want to be a part of it. I've bought it before. I absolutely love the value that's brought there. Problem is, it's expensive to pay that every month, and we get that. So if you still want the new discs, but you don't want to pay for 3, there's the 2-disc option. So don't get the 2 and 3-disc box because basically the 3-disc box just adds on to the 2-disc. You get how it works.
And a
the
swag
3-disc
item.
box also brings in a swag item, which for this month, if you're a fan of Foundation,
I am.
mainly our main channel, this swag item, really this box as a whole, you're not going to miss out on. So if you're on the thing, you want to get up to the 3-disc box, just a forewarning for this month. I'm not going to spoil it because they ship mid-month. So a lot of people at home haven't gotten their box yet, so I don't want to spoil what it is. But I will say that the swag item this month,
It's amazing.
awesome. The box this month, awesome. So if you want to check that out, head over to FoundationDisc.com, scroll down a little bit, and don't just take my word for it. You can find I believe at this point, over 50 5-star reviews. You can read through them, see why people like these boxes, verify that I'm not just blowing smoke. We genuinely do order. We already have August box ordered. That's how we are focused in on this thing. This is a big piece of our offering, and it's something that we take very seriously to make sure that you're getting value each and every month on your doorstep. So if that sounds like fun to you, head over to FoundationDisc.com and jump in. We have some openings. Let's jump over to the Ale Open.
Dang, we're jumping a lot.
Jump. So let's
How's
talk
it spelt?
ale, A-L-E,
Okay.
just ale.
The pale ale.
So
Challenge.
on FBO, we had Silva Saarinen taking it down with Kristen Lott coming in second and Rachel Turton coming in third. So let me walk you through how this ended up going down, because I got up Sunday morning at 6:20 because
Yeah, you had to be up early to catch the end of this one.
well, I'm a parent, so Luca decided 6:20 is like,
I thought you got up just to watch this.
no, I was fully prepared to. I'm going to watch the FPO highlights after because the round starts at like 3 a.m. Eastern time. But I woke up, I checked the live scores. I thought they were going to already be done, but I checked the live scores and realized, oh, shoot, they're on the tee of hole 14, and it's knotted up like two snakes in a handbag right now. We got Silva and Kristen standing on the tee tied up. So I walk out to my living room, turn it on just in time to see Kristen line up a birdie putt that would lead to her taking a one-shot lead. She airballs that, then misses the comeback putt, and instead she leaves the hole being down 1 to Silva instead of up 1 to Silva. They both birdie hole 15, and then on 16, Kristen has another putt. Just out, I think it might be just outside circle 1, but it's like on the edge of circle 1. It's a putt that wide open, nothing in the way, flat ground. And she misses that as well. I believe PDGA gives her circle 1. She misses that as well, allowing Silva to extend her lead to 2. Meanwhile, kind of in that same stretch, Silva is draining tester putts. She hit a 32-footer and then a 36-footer back-to-back on holes to take the lead and then hold Kristen off. And so she goes into hole 18 with a 2-stroke lead. She throws a solid drive and then hits the island with a standstill putter approach, and the rest is history, because once she hit the island here, there was nothing Kristen could really do, because Kristen ended up birdieing, but Silva was able to lay up, tap out the par. And honestly, watching those last few holes, that last stretch, it really felt like Silva out-Kristened Kristen.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that was, like, Kristen, a lot of her wins have come from, I'm going to play very smart golf. I'm not going to make mistakes. When I have a putt to take the lead or to push someone, I'm going to make said putt. I'm not going to mess up, and I'm going to just let them mess up. If they want to mess up, I'm going to be there to take it from them. Wow. That's typically what Kristen has done to the field for a long time.
Yeah.
And then this is exactly what Silva did to Kristen, where on hole 14, Silva hit like a 30-some foot putt before Kristen ever stepped up to her birdie putt. This was Silva hit a par putt from 30-some feet. And then she let, all of a sudden, I have a 1-stroke lead. And then I think the next hole, Kristen's closer for a birdie, and Silva's like, I'm not giving you one, and hits a 36-footer. And these were like super confident putts. She was painting the pole, Silva was. And so then Kristen almost was like a little rattled on 16 when she misses that circle one putt, but it's because like Silva just wasn't going to make a mistake, it felt like. And it felt weird to see Kristen in the shoes of making the mistakes, giving it to someone who was there like, hey, if you don't mess up, we're going to end up tied because I'm not messing up. And that's basically the line Silva held, and she was right. She didn't mess up. She played phenomenal and this really felt like the next big step for me in Silva's career, because she won a few Elite Series events last year. There were some people, I think even Kristen congratulated her on her first Elite Series win after this weekend, but I went and looked, and Silva won 2 Elite Series events last year.
They were just in Europe.
They were in Europe, and this was when Kristen was injured.
Yeah.
So
that is funny.
It was a wounded field. So this is her first time beating Kristen for a win in an Elite Series event. I think that's kind of like your next step, right? Because we saw her get in contention several times over here. Most notably the Music City Open. It was kind of like she could have very easily won that.
Were they actually Elite Series though?
Yeah, they were. I double checked. I'll triple check. But
okay, so Kristen really just missed, like, typoed that?
Well, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't a typo. It's probably just like, yeah, because she won the Swedish Open with an Elite Series, and she won the Turku Open, which is an Elite Series. Then she won this event last year, which was an A tier, as well as the Heinola Open and the Norway Open.
Okay.
So last year she won on that stretch where she just didn't lose, and mixed in there were 2 Elite Series events.
I couldn't remember if there were. That's what I was thinking. I knew there were events over there last year that weren't full Elite Series,
correct.
But okay,
she won those too.
Yeah,
but like, I mean, she beat Evelina and Henna last year at like the Turku Open.
She had a heck of a run,
but she just hadn't. She had beaten Kristen, I believe, in an Elite Series, but not for a win. She hadn't won an Elite Series event with Kristen in the field until this. So that kind of feels like the next step, because like then the final thing kind of on her checklist is an Elite Series event on U.S. soil, which she's come very close to. So I think Silva's definitely a player to watch out for. She has enough distance to be competitive at most courses they play. There are some courses where it requires more distance, and that it doesn't knock her out by any means, because if you play conservative, play within your game, you could end up there, but it doesn't put her in like the Holland Hanley, Ella Hansen like favored to win category when they go to distance courses. But with there being a few majors over in Europe this year, obviously statistically she's more comfortable over there. It's gonna be very interesting to see if this could be one of the years where maybe Silva's able to pick up a major, whether it be Worlds or the European Disc Golf Festival. I think they're still calling it that.
I don't know.
The other major over there. So it'll be very interesting to watch, especially as the field starts to head over there, because this is the exact time last year where Silva really heated up. And so if she's on that same trajectory, now she's going to be battling with Kristen over there even before. But, I mean, they're also just a few weeks away from the U.S. Women's. USWDGC, I believe, is not this weekend because this is preserved, but I believe the next weekend. I'll verify that date here.
I think so.
That's registration dates. Wow, why is it so hard to find that?
It's right at the top. 19.
There it is, 19th to 22nd. So it's 10 days away.
Yeah.
And I believe Silva will be back in the U.S. for that. I'd imagine she isn't going to miss that, but we can verify that here as well. Yeah, she'll be back in the U.S. So it's going to be interesting to see. They've got a big stretch ahead, 3 majors in the next 2 months. And so if this is when Silva's getting hot, this is the time to do it.
Yeah.
Now, over to MPO. Ricky Wysocki was in complete control of this thing on the front 9. He had actually he came into the day with a 3-stroke lead over Nicolas Angela. He'd opened it up to 4 going into hole 9. And then the unthinkable kind of happened. He had a decently long birdie putt, but it wasn't crazy long. It was definitely within Ricky range. He threw it too low, hits like the polar cage, rolls all the way down the hill. Long roll away. Runs that putt, hits metal, rolls away again.
Bam.
This time to the right side of the hill in some like kind of brush, but none of it was really deterring him that much. Airballs that putt and then taps out a double bogey to Nicklaus's birdie. So that 4-stroke lead Ricky has built cut to 1. Now, first off, I want to pause here because we talk about this a lot. Mm-hmm. This is why it's so important, the green design in disc golf. Because if this was a flat hole, right, if this was just not on a hillside, or even if it was on a hillside but the grass was long, this is probably a par for Rick or maybe a bogey.
Yeah, just one short swing.
But because it's on a like steep hillside and the grass out here was very short in a lot of areas, because you even saw the skip being come into play some. It wasn't just Rick that got this roll away. It was taking people left and right. Even some people on his card. I believe it was Daniel Davidson, I believe is his name.
Yes.
Who had the same roll away as Rick and then banged the comeback putt.
Yeah.
But regardless, I just wanted to point that out because this is why in disc golf the green design needs to be focused on so much, is because what could have been a very straightforward, I'll run this putt. If I miss it, I'll have a 15-foot comebacker, tap out for par, move on. Turns into a double bogey. Yeah. So all of a sudden, we have a 3-stroke swing.
Well, I did think it was, I love the design there. I thought it was funny. There was like a little bit of discourse on the internet. Not much, but a little bit of like probably Ricky fans like just being like, man, so unlucky, like tough to get those breaks when it's like, no, like there are some things you could chalk up to unlucky, but I would say that if you hit cage for putting up the hill at that basket, you probably more times than not will roll back down that hill. Like we saw it happen back to back, like 3 times within 4 putts there. So yeah, I think that, and I will say this, like the more unfortunate thing for Rick is on his second putt, he made the adjustment, knew I cannot leave this short, and he clanked band and then got the same roll away. So that's a bummer. But yeah, I think it makes it exciting, and you're right. It all of a sudden creates this defense where that would have been so uneventful. Yeah. It would have just been like, oh, he missed a putt low, tap it out.
Well, not only that, but you don't know if maybe why he missed that first putt low is because it's always uncomfortable standing on the side of a hill.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Your weight balance is a little bit off. You have it in the back of your mind of if I miss low, it's going to roll away. And like it just adds defense without like.
Yeah, it was great. And I think that, I mean, obviously this hole is what flipped the switch in the tournament. And it's similar. It's funny. We were just talking about Kristen. I think Kristen and Rick are 2 players who are both of their putts seem to be letting them down at crucial times this year a little bit. And I think it's what's obviously Kristen has still been on the winner's podium plenty, but I think it's kept her off it whenever she hasn't been winning. And I think it's what has held Rick back a few times as well.
Definitely.
He's gotten a little bit yippy. We've seen more air balls out of him than I could ever remember. And I think it's definitely been a bit of a pain point for him. Maybe the switch in putter, he hasn't quite found something that he loves yet. But
I don't know about that just because they designed one for him. So it'd be tough. That'd be tough to not love it. But I mean, it's basically a dagger.
I've heard things, but
Oh, what have you heard, Trev? What do you know? What do you know?
I don't know. There's been whispers that maybe he doesn't love it. I don't know. That's all I'll say.
You can't say that on a podcast and not go into it. That's crazy. Crazy work.
You heard the same whispers, huh?
Yeah.
I legitimately don't know what you were.
You were near the whispers.
Yeah, I did not hear these said whispers.
There's a reputable source that says maybe that's maybe the reason why it hasn't been running full stock yet. Like I'm not saying they ran this full production putter that he is that he doesn't like, because they haven't yet. So maybe there's going to be some tinkering done.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Anyways,
it's tough when you putt so well with certain putters for a long time. I wouldn't know what that feels like, but imagine being one of the best putters in the world and be like, we're gonna switch up the tool for you. Like that's something that takes work, and it's what when you're throwing bomb forehands, there's gonna be a lot that probably fits your business, but putting, especially the way Rick putts, which is kind of selective, like he throws a specific putt, those like nose down, like high lob putts that are hard. Like he's probably looking for something specific. So. Yeah, I don't know. It could be a factor. I don't always give the disc a lot of credit, but I think in this case you could.
I'm a big give the disc credit. I always do.
Well, when I'm trying to,
it sounded like I was trying to make a weird joke. No, I'm saying like for instance, I think part of the reason Chris Dickerson is not the same player as he used to be is he switched from Prodigy. I think Dickerson's game was built with Prodigy. Like genuinely, I think his bag fits him worse.
Yeah, I think about him with Latitude. the most?
Dickerson?
He never
was
threw
with
it.
latitude.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about Wysocki still.
No, Chris Dickerson. I'm just saying, like, I do think.
I
that
To be
certain
fair, he
players-
also switched from Prodigy, so
I was like, really? When you think of Wysocki, you think of Prodigy the most?
No, I don't think because I mean when Ricky was with Prodigy, I think
Yeah.
he was still punting with Casey Aviars.
Yeah.
Have they considered that? Have we considered getting Ricky a dagger and just stamping it with his proto stamp?
Was he?
It's been done in the past.
Yeah.
True.
Was he ever putting with daggers?
That's a good point. Were they ever daggers? You have to question everything now.
Well,
you have to
I
question
always
everything.
say sometimes it is the arrows.
That's right.
It's a good point. Big Germ
You
coming
and
in.
Germ.
Whoa!
No,
Oh, you don't want me to call you Big
No, he
Germ?
took that from Con.
Yeah, that was your original
Yeah, I
nickname.
always said that.
Well, yours is with a G.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so
Because I'm terrified of germs.
back in after hole 9, it honestly doesn't seem like it shook Ricky that much because the next hole he makes a 40-footer for birdie. So like I thought this might shake him and he's done, but it's not. But then Nicklaus just continued to push and found himself with a 2-shot lead going into 18.
Say less of a shake and more of a you just gave Nicholas too much room.
Yeah,
like he's too good.
And so he just needs basically. Ricky's out first after the drive, puts it on the green, gives himself a long birdie look. Then Nicklaus just has to put it on the island, similar to what we talked about in FPO that Silva was able to do, and it's over. Instead, it just comes out of his hand way too low. Scoots up, it's right on the edge. So how hole 18 finishes, it was an island green, but everything around it was a hazard.
Yeah.
So if you missed the island, you still played from wherever your shot
Hashtag
landed.
PDGA wafers.
And so Nicklaus throws and has a long putt for his par. So, but Ricky on the island is actually out. So Ricky goes first, and this is the moment of like, okay, here we go, Rick. He makes this. Then it puts all the pressure on Nicklaus, where if Nicklaus misses it, they're going to a playoff. If he misses it bad enough, then it could be over and Ricky wins. He puts all this pressure on Nicklaus. Instead, Ricky, yet again, steps up, throws it. And this one he committed too much. Squared the band. Dead center, just banded it. And so Nicklaus was able to just lay up and tap out the win.
Oh,
but
man, Rick was in such control of the tournament. Like,
he was, but it was down the stretch. You're right. There was a few glimpses where it's just like his putter. It's just not the same Rick we've known.
No.
Where like before it was like if he's in this position before where he's playing well enough to get himself in the lead, and he can smell the basket.
Yeah.
It's going in.
Oh, I think,
And that's just not the case this year.
I think he still like seems to have that confidence on those longer putts that he can make them. It's really those like 25 to 35 footers that I feel like the ones that and these are the toughest putts a lot of times for great players because those are the ones you're expected to make, but are tricky. I think everybody's expected range, like as far out as that goes, that's your hardest putt. Like for us,
like 15 feet.
Our expected range, like the furthest point of that might be 25 feet to where like you still probably should make that.
Probably 20, but it's a tricky distance.
25, but like
When I'm at 20 feet with pressure on, I'm probably like a 60% guy.
I'm just saying, like if you go like
Good
to your
point.
serious golf, like your break series, you were probably still putting 80% from 25 feet. Like you were making most of them.
Yeah, probably.
So we're thinking Hunter should make this, but it's hard. So like, those are the putts that are the most difficult to make. And so wherever that range is, and I think for a lot of the pros, that range is right around circle's edge or just outside. And so I think that's where I see him being the most shaky. There's a lack of confidence.
What's always been interesting for Rick is like a lot of players get to like especially with the step putt era, which I feel like we're somewhat out of. Funny enough, like I don't feel like there's not that much talk about step putts anymore.
Man.
But like a lot of players will, as soon as they can, switch to the step putt. So there was an era where it was like, if I'm at 34 feet, I'm 1 foot outside the circle, I'm step putting.
Yeah.
And so for those players, it was like 25 to 33 was tricky because it was like, basically my putt changes when I get to 34. Ricky's not that guy.
His putt was never really built for having a good stepper because
That's what I'm saying.
so low.
That's what's weird to me of like that range for Rick is like he throws the same putt from 40 feet that he throws from 25.
Yeah.
He just uses so much his
I do.
legs.
He's got big levers.
His legs just have such a very specific movement with his putt that I don't even know how you would transfer that.
I will
a
say
step.
the whole 18 putt, and I could be wrong. Maybe I just haven't seen this angle of Ricky's putt in a while. It looked like it was a lot more spinny than what I remember Ricky's putt being.
Yeah. Really?
When he came down, his wrist was fully broken as it came down, and
he's
like he
always
didn't
had
come to his chest by any means.
broken wrist, though,
but he
hasn't
came
he?
down, and it just
I think he's always done the broken wrist.
when I watched it, it was much
pops.
spinnier than like before. It was like that, like this
Yeah.
pop, and this felt like almost like an eagle spin.
I'm sure.
But obviously, he didn't come from his belly button. It came from down.
Changing things up.
But I watch it and I was like, something just looks off about Ricky's putt, and I think it's probably, as it is with those players' putts, just between the ears, confidence is lost right now.
Yeah, he could be trying to find a different way to putt with a different putter because it's not working the way that it traditionally does. I don't know, maybe that.
I just think like when you're somebody like Rick who putts very almost, he starts below the basket a lot of times, and the longer putts get above the basket. So like there's such a difference between like Gannon Burr, whose putt is basically always at bat chain height, whereas Rick, you're starting low, getting high, and then plopping back in. I feel like it would be take a little bit of miscalibration to all of a sudden be not being able to, like, you're missing a little low, then you're missing a little high, like, because your putter is on that kind of trajectory. But I don't know. I mean, he definitely at times, like, he was the most automatic. Like, he just was so automatic with putting, and it's always been such a confident stroke as well. So I'm sure he'll figure it out. I mean, like you're saying now, he's hanging around. He just can't get that win right now.
Well, what's crazy is Nicklaus, this was his third win of the season. But he still finds himself in 5th place because there's a lot of guys that are just more consistent, to be honest. I mean, because Nicklaus does have a 45th, a 21st, a 28th, and a 19th mixed in there. So he's behind Isaac, who necessarily hasn't been more consistent, but a Champions Cup win is worth 2 wins, as it should be. And then you have Ricky, who's just been more consistent throughout the course of the year. Really, the performance at majors is what helps these players the most, because like Ricky for 5th at a major gets more points than Nicklaus winning a non-plus event. So I think that also is a big factor here, because if you do that enough times, then the wins don't really matter. And then AB and Gannon are obviously 1-2, with Gannon having 2 wins and AB having 1 up there. So really what's killing Nicklaus is just his lack of performance and missing a plus event. So he missed the Northwest Championship, which was a plus event, and then at Champions Cup he came in 21st, whereas everyone ahead of him earned more points than he's getting for wins.
Like, man, this really hasn't been an insane year for win distribution so far. I mean, Gannon, AB, and Nicklaus have how many of the total wins right now?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
All but what?
And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 events so far. But one of those is European, which was who won that? Maury Villman.
Right.
He won that.
Right.
I almost said Valerie Millman, but maybe he switched his name up.
Crazy.
But yeah, no, they have 60% comes from those 3 players.
Yeah.
Because then you throw Isaac in, who won Champions Cup.
Ezra.
And then Ezra, his brother, who won Supreme Flight, and I were basically there. I don't know who we're missing to that point. So, it's been an interesting year. Ricky's still hunting that first one. Ricky does keep putting himself in position, because like that's like Paul is still hunting his first one, and he put himself in position at Champions Cup before that fall off. But beyond that, like we've seen Paul get in like attacking position, but it felt a little different. Like Ricky, I guess this one was similar to Champions Cup, except for Ricky stayed around and hung it for second. But like Ricky had full control in the final round. We haven't seen Paul have full control in the final round yet, unless I'm missing one.
James, that's the other win.
Ham is the other one. I don't think we've seen Paul have full control in the final round yet. Am I wrong?
No, yeah. I don't,
so that's where like Ricky's gotten himself into this position. And he's even put himself in contention, like from Cascade. He was chasing from the second card, but again missed that putt on 18.
He doesn't look like a disaster.
He keeps missing crucial putts.
Right,
is the kind of the storyline I've seen across the season, and it's an interesting one.
If you run into one, like part of that 60% we just mentioned, that's like gets red hot at the right times. Like you run into them, you can't make any mistakes. Like they'll snowball and they'll cost you. And I do think if he doesn't get that roll away, and if he makes par on the hole, I think he wins this tournament.
Then he's up by 4 or 5.
Like things happen, and he still had the lead at the end of the day. Like you gotta figure it out.
Yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up for the LA Open. Beautiful course out there. If you haven't watched the coverage, you definitely should. Fill your week this week is before we head into, I believe the Preserve is coming up this weekend. So
it's crazy. It's crazy that like we now have Paul, Rick, Calvin. None of the 3 of them have a win this year.
Yeah. It's been almost a full change of the guard across 2 years.
I think between AB, Gannon, Ezra, Isaac, Nicklaus, I think they're probably all under like 26 and under.
Yeah, the one that would be closest is Ezra's the older brother of the 2, right?
I think he might be the younger.
Is he the younger of the 2?
He's the younger.
Isaac's the older.
I think so.
And Isaac's the same age as me. It's like I'm saying like that's crazy that all of our wins.
Because AB's like 25.
he's a year younger than me at least. So it's insane to think like how quickly things are turning over right now. And obviously like there's still older guys that can get it done on tour.
Calvin's
but like
also not.
He's like 28, 29. He's somewhere in that range.
I couldn't tell. He's either my age or younger.
I think he might be one.
I'm 28.
So I think he's also 28.
Okay.
I think he's a 97
Eagle
guy.
is a year
Eagle's
younger than me. 27.
Yeah.
I think.
But it's insane that like right now in disc golf, like Ricky and Paul would be kind of the leaders of this frontier, but we don't have this huge base of like young 30s guys who are just seasoned but still in their athletic prime and like dominating. Like it's young guns.
Because Ricky's even not that old.
He's like 30.
I think Ricky might just hit 30.
Yeah.
We can find that out. 32.
32.
Never mind.
Yeah.
He's getting up
so
there.
that's what I'm saying. Like I think like
His joints are starting to creep.
we would soon getting to the point where like okay maybe Calvin and Eagle turn over into that age group, but they're not winning anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Let me see if I can find Calvin's age. These are never that accurate, but we'll try.
like you'd like to think eventually, and I'm not
So
saying
he's born
20
in 95.
Is that for real? He's 29.
So he'd be 30 this year.
Wow.
Calvin be 30 this year.
Kevin Jones.
According to
another
Ultimo.
guy. There's another guy who's getting up there.
Kevin Jones on debate night was going to be on my Kevin Jones and Drew Gibson were two of my four on Mount Rushmore of players.
Yeah, and like I don't think that age has really anything to do with this. I think guys get burnt out and start not winning a ton for a lot of reasons, and also those guys still can win.
How much data do we need? I'm not saying age does have anything to do with it, but how much data do we need before we start to think age does?
Well, the problem
not
is,
that you can't win, because obviously Ricky and Paul can.
Yeah. Oh, this is about to be Brody just.
Well, I'm just saying at what point? Because like we're starting to get a lot of data of like, okay, Calvin's 30, and magically he went from 2 years ago, he was the guy to beat, to this year. I don't even know if he's been in contention.
Let me list another important stat that ties those guys together. Paul, Rick, and Calvin all signed humongous contracts.
Yeah.
So like you sign a huge deal, that gets a little bit less enticing to have.
Gannon
to win
Burr's
all
got
the time.
a decent deal.
He does, but Gannon Burr is also a psycho.
Isaac Robinson just
that
signed
guy,
a pretty good
that guy,
deal.
like he's so zeroed in. Yeah,
Gannon Burr's
you're right.
also still young. He's still.
But I
guess Simon won 4 times in a year when he was in his 30s.
Simon is a good example of the opposite. But Simon's an interesting one though, because he, like at the time he signed that deal, you know, he wasn't feeling like he was going to be some massive competitor for them. So he almost wasn't feeling the pressure of winning.
Yeah. But I mean, his deal wasn't really a win disc golf deal.
But he's also, you know, he's another part of that older guard where like that guard of, you know, throw him into that mix too. And let's say it's like Calvin, Eagle, Rick, Paul, Simon, like that should be a very strong presence. And like right now that younger age group is just dominating.
Over the last 2 years, really.
Yeah. So it's just good. It is interesting to watch to see like, okay, is that group I just mentioned, the under 26s, are they going to, for the next 4 years, are they still going to be amazingly dominant at that point?
4 years from now, they'll be 30, so they'll be out.
Right. Or like, is there that next wave that's going to come in?
It's just a sport that favors fresh arms.
And here's another, yeah, maybe. Well, here's another thing too, is like right now, so like if you joined in the COVID boom, you know, you've now been playing disc golf for maybe 3, 4, 5 years. And so we can get athletes from that can start filtering in as well. But I mean, you look at everybody from like the Gannon era, like those are just guys that have been playing it since they're young. So like they didn't even come from that. I don't know. I don't know if there'll just be another wave. There's always good like young players coming up.
All the young guys I feel like that are super competitive right now are like guys that have been in it since they were kids.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
you almost have to now.
I'm sure we have some players who just got into it recently,
yeah,
but
I think there's some guys that are like good enough athletes, because I don't think Gavin Babcock, like he was like a college wrestler. I don't know that he was
he's
like
not one of
let's ask the question on tour.
No, but I'm saying like that's an example.
Like AB won USADGC when he like a decade
ago.
When he was 15.
The guys I just listed are basically
Gannon was 1,000 rated when he was 16.
Yeah.
Isaac and Ezra basically raised on the disc golf course.
Who's the youngest disc golfer who's competitive right now? But youngest disc golfer, not youngest person. As in, they've been playing disc golf the least long.
I don't know if we would even be able to figure that out.
I don't think we can figure that out, but it's interesting.
Well, off the top of our head, like
probably Brody Smith.
Because like I think Isaac and Ezra played since they were kids. I'm sure Kyle did. Ezra Aderholt has been playing for a while.
Oh, Kyle's definitely a disc golf kid. You can see it in his eyes.
Well, I mean, his dad was a disc golfer. I'm pretty sure.
I just think
that's always the key.
Oh, Sully. It's Sully.
Sullivan Tipton.
I don't think he's competed for very long. He told me his story with disc golf because he was also a very competitive athlete, and I think
2015 decade.
Oh,
he played in 2015. He was a PDGA member in 2015.
How much did he compete though? Did he like play?
Well,
He
still,
played
you
one
didn't play
tournament.
disc
One
golf, though.
tournament.
But like
But he's still playing.
he was playing.
Yeah.
He was playing enough to be a PDGA
'Cause
member in 2015.
I think his story.
And then 2019 he started like playing more. 2020 he played 3.
Okay.
So like it's not like he was
Yeah.
touring.
Yeah.
But like if you're a
We need
PDGA
Edwin
member
to get on this for us.
If you're a PDGA member a decade ago, you were playing disc golf.
Yeah. I think his story was he like played the sport a little bit and then like started taking it seriously after after he got hurt or
Look
something.
at Paul Krantz. What's this guy's story? How long
Dude,
has he
Paul
been-
Krantz, he was born in Maple Hill. Like I'm pretty sure on hole 8.
Maybe. I
He
don't know.
was delivered.
He was a PDGA member in 2020.
Oh.
I mean, he's young. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
And then 2020
it was 5 years ago, he was 12.
2020
It doesn't really count.
Yeah.
Paul Krantz age.
We need somebody who's like 25, really good, and actually started playing when they
Okay,
were
Paul
like
Krantz
18.
started playing in 2019. Let me see if I can find his birth year.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, this Paul Krantz could be the guy.
2019, he started playing in July 2019, so 6 years ago.
What did he play? Like age protected at all?
Let's see. In 2020, he just played MA1.
Paul Krantz.
He
could be-
looks young, but he also looks like he like could
Well,
be.
He could definitely be 19, in which case he was literally 14 years old, and like that's starting when you're a kid. For disc golf, that's pretty young.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be able. Okay, wait. 2022.
Kid just turned 18.
I think he just turned 18.
So he's like 20 now.
So
Or
he
20.
turned.
No, 2022. So he could be 21.
He'd be like 21.
Okay, so if he started playing when he's like 16, that's pretty recent in today's standards. I mean, compared to
There
some
you
of
go.
those other ones.
There you
All right,
go.
Paul
Paul
Krantz.
Krantz.
He's the archetype,
He's a prodigy.
and he's what? He's like top 30, top 20 this year.
I think he's top 20. I'll pull. I just
I like him.
just closed out the
I'm
standings.
the biggest
He
Paul
seems
Krantz
like,
fan
he
out
seems
there.
like a sweetheart.
I love Paul Krantz.
My wife hates it whenever I call dudes sweethearts.
He's 26th.
Attaboy.
He's about to get in top
some
25.
people are just sweethearts,
Let's go
you know?
Krantz.
Let's go Krantz.
Crayola.
He has one top 15 this
Can we
year.
be the
2 top
Crayola
15s.
Crayons?
Yeah.
That's what we call Paul Krantz fans.
Yeah, the Crayola
The
crayons.
Crayola crayons.
Yeah. Let us know. We'll get you a Crayola stamp. Just says crayons on it.
Crayons. Dude, that would
I
actually
love
be a
that.
sick.
It depends
Let's
on
go
what
ahead.
region you're from,
we
but
should
Some
probably
people
go
that makes
ahead.
no sense.
from my
but around
region,
here,
it makes a lot of sense.
It makes perfect sense.
We
It's
should-
crayons.
We should probably lock down intellectual
Are we all
property on
crayon?
this
Are we
one.
all crayon people? No, you're a crayon.
I think
are
I'm
you
a crown.
You're a
I'm a crown person.
Trevor, are you a crayon?
Crayon.
You're a crayon. Okay, I'm a
Crayons.
crayon as well.
I'm
Yeah.
a crown person. I'm
That's
pretty
okay. We can still be friends.
Yeah.
We're
gonna go
At
ahead
least
and
none of us
claim-
are crayon.
That's
yeah.
gonna be
crayon. Like the way it's
Crayon.
spelled.
Yeah,
That's
what are you
stupid.
doing?
You want a crayon? It's like Louisiana accent. Crayon. We're gonna need IP on that. By the way, MVP, if you're listening, you cannot have that. You can have that. I will give it to you for $500, and you'll make
That's
your,
it?
You'll make your money back. Well,
Well, it's got to be reasonable.
Yeah,
If you say
reasonable.
$5 million, they're never taking
Yeah.
But
it.
if they can have it, we can make way more money with it than $500.
But we'd have to run it through MVP.
Like if
because
we
Paul
do
Krantz
it
is-
and then win the lottery.
we'll talk.
We'll
We'll
talk.
be in touch.
Yeah, reach
We
out.
will be in touch.
Reach out.
Reach out to us. Then we'll be in touch.
have your people reach out to my people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
All
yeah,
right,
I
it's
like
time for the
that.
fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia, right after these messages.
Trevor.
Bam, 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 bam.
Trivia.
Bam, bam, bam. Let's talk about cash.
Let's talk about cash, baby.
Ooh, oh, here we go. Trevor promoting his disc again.
That's out of stock.
Yeah, shop. Like, dude, that's crazy. I'm like, shop, man.
That's tough. That's tough.
So Statmando has a list. Shout out Statmando of all the active cash streaks. Okay, first of all, is this? Oh, this is just major and elite series. I was gonna say, are we in here?
I'm
Let's
not.
just do
I don't have
a
an active one.
Sporkle.
So
Yeah, can we just play Sporkle?
no. So of the active cash streaks,
How long ago was it that you discovered that it's not Sporacle?
it was like a couple months ago. You told me.
Let's play
I told you?
Geocache.
You brought it to my attention because the comments were
Oh, because
saying
the
it.
comment said
yeah.
it. I,
I
was gonna say,
still
I wasn't the one
call
that
it
discovered that.
Sporkle because it's more fun than Sporkle.
Yeah, Sporkle's kind of dumb.
So
We should
there-
just call it Snorkel at that point.
the
Crank
cash
or
streak
Sparkle.
situation is actually a lot wilder than I thought. There's not as many long streaks as you would think. So right now, this keeps track of all streaks, but we're only going to go with players who have, these are like Pro Tour players that you would know, and they've all extended their streak in the year 2025.
So
we're
they
not,
have to have cashed.
right. So we're not counting Walter Haney, who hasn't cashed since 2007.
That was my only guy.
You
I
know,
knew.
Dang.
so there
Calling
are
Walter
only
Sorry,
10
Walter.
touring players, MPO, 10 touring players.
When was this last updated?
As of the last tournament.
So the Alle Open's in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
They always update these super up to date.
Who's coolers over there? That's very cool. Very cool.
We had
came
this
with that
discussion,
thing that we got that box.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
There are 10 players who
What's
have
your
a
box,
cash streak
whatever?
of 10 or more.
10 or more. Okay.
Only 10.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to go back and forth. Whoever can guess the most
Burr
can win.
Hunter cheated.
Hunter just cheated.
Okay, I don't have to go first.
Who's going first?
Konner, you're going first.
Gannon Burr.
Gannon Burr has he has the third highest streak with 39.
Shout out,
That is
Hunt.
correct.
You would have got there.
I would have got
Yeah,
there.
I think so.
Yeah. I'm going to
All right,
choose people who typically do well.
Let me see. The tough part is like every once in a while someone will just sneak something in there.
Yeah, it's a tricky
He has the
list.
third highest with 39.
And that is when I say whatever highest, that's referring to he has, but he also has the third highest among the players that qualify for this. The top 3 are all qualifying people for this game.
If someone gets injured in DNFs, doesn't count.
I don't believe so.
I'll take Paul Macbeth.
Paul Macbeth is in there. He is 12 overall. He has a cash streak of 18 right now since the Swedish Open of last year.
Okay, that was a little closer than I would have liked.
1-1. Well, he has 18. You just need to be 10 or more.
I understand. I just thought I was trying to figure out who's higher than Gannon.
There is not a ton of high ones
I'm
on
going
here.
to go
It's
Isaac
pretty
Robinson.
Crazy. Isaac Robinson is on there. 22. Good pick, Con.
Thank you,
He has had
Trevor.
that streak since the Champions Cup last year.
Thanks, Trevor. Shout out, Trevor.
All right.
He was
both-
in 22 events in Champions Cup last year.
I feel
okay,
nervous
I need to think
now.
a lot more.
I kind of feel nervous now.
I got to start thinking a lot more recent.
How many people do we get to choose each?
Well, you each get 5 picks because you're going to. There's 10 total on the board.
I'm having a panic attack.
All these players are very recognizable names.
Yeah, but now I can't think.
I'll
of any
just go
more disc
Anthony
golfers.
Barella.
Anthony Barella
Oh, that's
has
a
a
good
streak
one.
of 10. He's right on
I
the
knew
line
he was gonna be close.
since the MVP Open last season.
So the end of the season last year gets you in this thing. Holy cow. USDGC is going to knock someone off.
All right, Con, back to you. All tied up still.
I mean,
2 picks
Mr.
apiece.
Consistent on there. I'll go Calvin.
He has the #1 cash streak with 64 events.
Good night.
All the way back to the 2022 Las Vegas Challenge.
Shoot, that's crazy.
He is the highest active cash streak right now.
I'll take Ricky.
He has the second
where I was
highest at
gonna go.
42 events going back to the 2023 Music City Open. Okay, so you guys are both perfect right now. There's 1, 2.
You're perfect, Trev.
Trevor, you're cute.
Con, how many have you picked?
3.
We
Right?
both
Making
picked
sure.
3.
I'm
We both picked 3.
I'm counting to make sure my count was correct. So there should be 4 left, right?
Should be.
1, 2. Yeah, there is.
Can't think of any more disc golfers. My brain is mushed.
It's a slightly harder now, but like I said, these are all still. Oh! I just realized when I was looking at this earlier, I missed a name on the list. So there is actually 11 up for grabs, but we'll still do 5 picks each.
Okay.
There's 11 up for grabs.
I will
Wow,
go.
that would have been embarrassing. I missed that.
Man. I feel like I'm about to mess up.
It's getting tough now.
That's what I feel like.
But you probably should throw a guess in there.
I know I'm working. I'll go Ezra Robinson.
Bang. 16 in a row going back to the 2024 European Open.
Dang.
Great pick.
Dang.
All right, on back. This is competitive today. This is going to be tight here. So you're 4 for 4. You're 1 pick away from perfect, putting the pressure on Hunt.
Nicolas Antela.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nicolas Antela currently has a streak of 6. Does not qualify. Konner,
So he missed cash. He must have missed USDGC.
his let me see when his streak started.
Gosh,
His streak started at Waco in 2025.
He missed Supreme Flight.
Yeah, he must have missed Supreme Flight.
I can't look that. I almost ruined
Unless
the whole game.
he didn't play Supreme and missed at the end of last year, but
he might not have played Supreme.
all right, Con, if you get this one, you win.
Dang,
What?
that's not. He went first.
Huh? No, because you each get 5 picks, and so if he makes this one right, you wouldn't have. You wouldn't be able to catch him.
Yes.
What? Who? Gosh, I know that there's gonna be there's obviously gonna be names that I'm like, oh, how did I not think of that? But I'm gonna go Yuli.
No.
Dang it. Yuli just kind of hangs around, so I wasn't sure.
No.
He just kind of hangs around.
Okay,
so I
well,
wasn't sure.
you know what? I'm gonna go risky for the bisky because this guy came to my mind.
His 9.
He came to your 9.
And you don't have to be good for that long to get on this streak.
Yeah.
Ezra Aderhold.
He has a
thought
streak
about
of
that.
10.
Yeah.
Dang, I thought about
At the back of
that.
this. Okay, so we will do tiebreaker guesses. You guys can each take one more stab at it, and then I'll tell you if either of you are right. There are 2 names left on the list. Oh, no, that's not true. There are 3 names left on the list because you guys each got 4. So you guys can each come up with a guess, and then we'll see if either of you get one right.
Gavin Babcock.
Okay. Hunter.
They'd have to be high up in the Pro Tour standings for this thing. Kyle Klein.
Oh, what a good
Kyle
one.
Klein has a streak of 23. Gavin
Dang,
Babcock
that's
not
the
on list.
name. That's the name.
The
that we were
other
not
the
thinking
other
of.
ones on there, Chris Dickerson at 23 as well, and Evan Smith
didn't
at
expect that.
15.
I did
Evan
not
Smith would've
expect
got-
Chris Dickerson.
Good job
now
overall,
I can
though,
look at
guys.
Niklas.
Heck of a job from the boys there.
He came in 45th at Supreme Flight. See, what's funny
Just
is
missed it.
in my head, I knew he had 45th, and I did the math. I was like, if there's 120 people in the field, he cashed.
Yeah.
Must not have been.
Must
He
not
did
have been.
cash 45th.
Great
Kyle Klein
effort.
was. I knew that there was a name in there that I was just skimming past.
That was a
and Kyle
valiant
Klein was
effort.
that
No, I mean,
it was a valiant effort.
Kyle Klein is everyone's most forgettable. All the
Yeah,
time.
that's
like
kinda-
his
he just-
brand.
that
You
was
just
very-
forget he exists.
That was very on brand and therefore off brand for Kyle Klein because everything on brand is off brand.
Yeah.
Wait, is there something there?
What did you just do to my mind?
I don't know. I wanted to point out that coming up in July,
Point
there
it
is
out.
a vote happening for the PDGA Global Board of Directors.
Are you announcing your candidacy?
No.
One of these years we
I
have
would've
to make Silas
campaigned.
run.
I would have campaigned so hard.
Well, they pick their nominees, so you
Okay,
can't just throw
but it
them
would
in.
be-
They narrow down to the top 5, and that's who you hear about.
But
as
it
the
would
top
be
5.
but it would be. When do they pick the candidates,
I don't
like the
know.
nominees?
I don't know.
Because
They just announced
if the
the top
month
5.
leading up, we ran a campaign, like political campaign for Silas, and then like he didn't get picked, we could make a big stink about it. It'd be hilarious.
That'd be funny.
And we
Yeah.
could do like the commercials were like this message has been approved or been paid
Yeah, 'cause
for by
they,
the Silas Isaacson committee.
I'm trying to see how they decide the candidates. I'm not sure, but anyways, there's 2 at-large board
I'll tell you how
member
they decide. They
positions.
call up their buddies.
There's 2 at-large board member positions to be elected this year.
Okay.
So the election, if you're a PDGA member, will run July 1st through the 31st. So you can head over to the PDGA, and there's like a get-to-know thing, so you can read through everyone's backgrounds, what they want to do, what their goals are, so on and so forth. The one guy I want to highlight his goals is Matthew Rothstein. I don't know Matthew at all. So
My experience from this is there's usually like 3 just super plugged in disc golf
this
people.
is a super plugged in
and
disc
then there's
golf
like
guy.
one accountant and one lawyer.
So we got Laura Noctegal, who's been on the board for a while.
Okay.
So she's a super plugged in disc golf person. Then you have Conrad Damon, who I don't know his background.
You just got to go to his professional experience.
Well, this is all they have, candidate background. Oh,
No,
here, professional
right there.
experience. Bachelor's in English at Stanford, and went into tech.
Software
He's software engineer. And then you have Charlie Mead, who's been in disc golf a long time.
Oh, yeah.
His background, he's been in the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame since 2023. Education and psychology.
Nice.
And then...
It should be clear, just because you practice law doesn't mean
No.
you know anything about disc golf. I'm not saying it like, oh, those are the good ones.
And Dustin Schreiber, his background, engineering department manager.
You got engineers.
But, so, Matthew,
What is Matthew aiming to do?
well, his background, he's been with the PDGA for a whiwhile. So, that might instantly throw people out. I get that. He was a media manager PDGA for a while. But,
That's a lot of goals.
his goals, though, he said his top priority will be to implement a PDGA members' Bill of Rights. So a set of reforms designed to bring transparency, accountability, and member empowerment back to PDGA governments. These aren't radical ideas. They reflect the founding principles of our sport and organization: fair play, equal rules, and accountable leadership.
I'm just a bill.
The other thing he basically said disc golfers are required to follow the rules, and when they don't, they're held accountable by fellow competitors and tournament officials. I believe the same standard should apply to our leaders. That means open meetings, accessible information, and decisions made in light, not behind closed doors.
Well, they're never gonna like this guy.
I'll work to ensure the PDGA board meetings are visible to membership and that members can understand how and why key decisions are made. I'll also advocate for greater financial clarity, clear breakdowns of how member dues are used, and open publication of budgets and contracts, which the budget is published, but I think this has been basically what he's recommending for. He's also supports the creation of an independent oversight committee, so an outside committee to overcheck and make sure there's checks and balances on the board to help maintain that there's no conflicts of interest, strengthen accountability, and deepen trust between PDGA leaders and its membership. All things that I think. Again, I don't know Matthew, so I'm not gonna like say he's a great guy. I'm saying his ideas he put on paper.
I like his ideas.
All great,
but
because I stand behind. I think that a lot of the PDGA backlash is how they handle when they do mess up, because typically it's duck and hide and point blame elsewhere, and lack of promotion of when they're not messing up. So they have a lot of grants. They have a lot of, they support a lot of youth programs. They do a ton of tournament director support. Like, they do a lot of great things that you never hear about, ever.
Sure.
I think that's one of the problems is when we hear about PDGA is a lot of times when they've messed up.
Because their ads suck.
And then which unfortunately Matthew is the one that's created the PDGA ads historically, but his ideas are great. His ideas are great for the board of directors, because I think that there's just a lot of stuff that the PDGA does that is actually very good. Just no one hears about it. No, it's like very unknown. And then when they are like kind of public and pushing, a lot of times it's responding to backlash, which historically, in my opinion, the PDGA has done very poorly. When there is pushback against them, their response has been very poor, which has created this like tension and mistrust, because you're paying a lot of money for an annual PDGA membership, and it feels like, where on earth is my money going beyond like allowing me to have this rating?
Yeah, well, the question is, if he actually were to get elected to the board, like, does he actually get any say? Can he actually?
Would any of that actually happen? I don't know. But again, if we constantly are electing people who we agree with their thoughts and ideas and stuff, eventually the board's full of people who we all agree with where they want the sport to go, and then they have all the power in the world.
Unless they're just lobbying for our vote, then,
if they play the politics game and don't keep up with their promises, that's on them, not on us.
Let me just thought experiment.
Okay.
Okay, I'm running for the board.
You are?
I really want it, really bad. And I keep seeing this one popular media company that does like a lot of podcasts. They talk about the PDGA. They list all these complaints, and people agree with them in the comments. I'm going to say I'm going to fix all that.
Yeah, but let me play the devil's advocate.
It might work.
Which is, I think that no one's going to do anything, so I just don't vote.
Oh, Hunter, dude, you throw away your vote.
And
is that very patriotic of you?
There's the other side. It's like if I'm there, I'm like, well, this vote means nothing, so I'm just not going to do it. It's like, well, then the sport's going to keep running in the way you don't want it to run, because you didn't stand up and make a voice heard.
Probably written in Brody for the last 4 years.
And there's the problem.
And you did it too.
I did 1 year because I thought it was funny to see how, but we had multiple people who were voting for. And to be honest with you, like, I only agreed with one idea.
What? Yeah. What do you think I'm throwing my vote? I want him to be on the board.
Well, Brody got like 450 write-ins 1 year, and that was funny. Because they historically had published who got whatever. No, because I think it's very important.
Should we stuff the ballot?
No, because I think it's very important that people who actually can make a difference get voted in, versus doing what Trevor's saying and writing in Silas's dog.
Who are we writing in this year? Silas.
I'm not writing anyone in. I'm writing down actual names of the people who've been nominated. That's what I'm doing this year.
Well, I'll do that on my alt account.
You can do whatever the frick you want.
I've got 4 PDGA accounts.
I will respect you the same after. But I personally am going to vote for 2 people on this list that are going to make changes I want to see made.
That's what I'm allegedly doing.
They're promising to. Again, that's on them, not me, if they don't do it.
Good point.
That's not on me. I can only vote for the changes I want to see. Maybe you should be the change you want to see. I don't want to run for board of directors.
I'm voting for the man in the mirror.
Is
that how that saying goes?
I think we could probably convince Brad to run.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And he'd be dang good at it.
He'd be very good.
I think we should get Brad just to hear his complaints about the board, like, weekly.
That would be great to have, like, an insider.
I'm sure. What in the world?
Silas just crushed a water bottle. I thought something was falling. I thought for sure I was going to look over and something was falling. The other reminder is I think there's still time to get your thoughts into the PDGA about the proposed rule changes.
Yeah.
So the time extension, that stuff, if
I
you're
bet
not a
there's
fan
lot
of
thoughts
it,
swirling around.
you can submit it. It seems like the changes aren't going to matter because Gannon Burr's come out publicly several times and basically said, like, I'm not enforcing any of it. And it seems that, like, a lot of players think that way. So, really, I think it's a matter of, like,
well, your vote
whatever
doesn't
rules
matter
you want.
anyway. The player's vote doesn't matter. So
That's true. Yeah, well, yeah. In this case, you're voting for
Only
what
your
your card
opponents
mates
can
think.
Bring
and
back
only,
players' rights.
But apparently, it won't even matter what our thoughts are because the Pro Tour said, like, well, not the Pro Tour. Pro Tour players have come out and been like, look, you can make whatever rule you want. I ain't calling it. Because Holland Hanley actually made a great point. Not to talk about the PDGA rules again, but I saw this point because I don't want to talk about it every
Part
week.
3.
Okay.
But I saw this point and I was like, you know what? That's a great point. And she was like, I'm never going to call a player unless I'm certain they went over on their time.
Yeah.
Only way I can be certain they went over on their
Is if I
time
count.
is if I have a stopwatch and or on my phone and like hit start and like watch it. She's like, so to enforce the rule, she's like, because then what's also not fair is if I only time Konner's shot and I don't time Silas and Trevor's shot, well, now that's not fair because now he's being held to a different standard on my card than everyone else is.
Yeah.
She's like, so then basically to enforce this rule, I either can't enforce it at all or I have to time every single shot being thrown.
Yeah.
She's like, those are the two options. And
Well,
she's like,
only
so of
time
course,
the
like,
players you're losing to.
she's like, of course I can't. I'm not gonna be able to enforce this rule. She's like, that's a great point. It's like basically, it's because it's on this. Basically, like that's a great point of like you're asking players to now sit there and stop because like does make a very solid point of like it's not fair. Similar to it wouldn't be fair if I only watched Konner's feed for a foot fault and I didn't watch anyone else's.
Yeah.
It's like that's not fair.
Yeah, if somebody's counting in their head and like they're saying even if I took 2.5 minutes and I know I did, like I'm gonna tell them that Pixar didn't happen. Like you need.
Well, they'd
hard
be like
evidence.
time extension, and you'd be like, okay, if you call me 3 more times, I'm gonna make you prove it.
Yeah, good point.
That's where we'd be at right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, let's talk final thing. U.S. Amateur Disc Golf Championship. We have the same talking point every year.
Okay.
The exact same.
Okay.
James Collier won.
It's like the annual pitchforks.
And this is the annual,
Like-
everyone goes to Facebook and was like, that dude shouldn't be an AM. He's been dominating MPO for so
You're
long.
supposed to suck like the rest of us, man.
Yeah.
That is not what AM means.
Like, it's so funny to me. First off, congrats, James, for winning this tournament. You did it the right way. You didn't accept cash for
By how many
however
strokes
long.
did he win?
1 stroke.
Yeah.
Over
so,
Brock Tennyson.
So if he had lost, like if that guy had won, had you been saying the same thing about it? Like,
Probably, because Brock probably did the same thing. Because here's the deal. What people are upset about is that players will play an MPO in their local scene. And if they're good enough to win USADGC, they probably win MPO in their local scene pretty consistently. And they turn down cash to maintain their amateur status because they want to play in the amateur majors for a chance at winning them because they know that sets you up, that gets you notoriety, that a lot of times puts you on sponsors' radars. If you want to be a Pro Tour player, this is a good route to do so. We've seen several players do it, where they win USADGC or they come in the top whatever, and they're on the tour right now. Anthony Barella's won. Robert Burridge has won. I forget who. Oh, Jake Mon just won last year. He's on tour now.
Ryan Mon won last year.
I believe it was Jake Mon.
It was not. It was Jake Mon is older.
Was his brother?
Ryan Mon, his brother.
Anywho, we had
Jake Mon may have also won, but not last year. It was Ryan Mon.
Jake Mon hasn't won tournaments in 2023. Tough scene, Jake.
Jake Mon, what's
Step
the
it up,
deal?
Jake Mon. What's the deal, Jake Mon? Anyways, players come from this. So I forget where I was going, but essentially people get upset when a player like this wins because they're like, he shouldn't be an amateur. He's playing an MPO and winning MPO events. He's a pro player. The only difference is he didn't accept cash. Correct. You're 100% right in that statement. The only difference is he didn't accept cash. That's what makes him an amateur.
Yeah. It doesn't
There
mean,
you go.
Amateur
Because-
doesn't mean you suck. It means you're not playing professionally, which means you're not making money.
This is,
That's all it means.
let me paint it like this, okay? Because MA1 doesn't have a ratings cap, as it shouldn't. It's the top level of amateur. You can be as good as you want in MA1, right? MA2, MA3, those are protected. They got to have a ratings cap.
Yep.
MA1, just you haven't accepted cash. So if the PDGA came out and said, hey, now, if you are an MPO and you cash, you must take it. Guess what these players would do? Just play MA1.
Correct.
Because their goal is to get to USADGC and win, and their goal on the local scene is to play with the best players possible to prepare themselves for what they're going to face in this field.
And so their ratings don't suck too.
Yeah. So they just play local MPO because it's the best competition. It honestly is the closest competition they'll face to a national level amateur tournament, and then they turn down cash because that's what the rules allow them to do. So if you're all ticked up. If you're all ticked off about this, then what you should be happy with is that this rule exists so you can still win your local MA1. Because if this didn't exist, then those guys who are playing an MPO would be spanking your behind 52 weeks out of the year instead of 1.
Whoa.
Yeah, so if you're upset about it, just look at your MA1 trophies on your wall and be glad they're there instead of in someone else's hands who's playing MPO.
Here is the more interesting thing about this tournament. So this guy's name is James Collier or whatever.
Jacob Collier.
James.
So James C.
James C.
Did you happen to see him play?
He looks like James Conrad.
It's not just that. So he has literally the long hair and the ponytail.
He's got the form a little bit.
A little bit. I saw it was probably selective because it was a step putt. The clip that I saw, legitimately, I would probably bet $50 to $100 that if I silhouetted it and showed it to Brody. Now, obviously, it's kind of a trick question because he doesn't know that AMs are even a part of this contest. But if I showed it to him, like, you would say that's James Conrad in a heartbeat. He's got the mannerisms.
Yeah.
Even the way he, like, ran up to the basket after the make, it's like he's the same person. It creeped me out almost. He's wearing the team MVP on the back. James C., like, the PDGA probably has a reel of it, Con. I know on Facebook they do.
What I saw was a picture of his, like, follow-through.
I didn't see his throwing form, but
his follow-through, because I didn't see the video, but his follow-through, he had the long hair, and he was leaned like how Conrad would be leaned.
Oh, my gosh. No, if you're listening.
And that's what I saw, and I was like, oh, it's James
Conrad.
Go
to the PDGA on Facebook and go to their reels.
I'm going to go to them on Instagram.
Here it is. Here it literally is. Watch this crap, dude. Look at the way he's holding it.
I was just going to watch the coverage.
You see it? And then watch the way he pulls it. Look at that. Pulls it to the same. Look.
That's crazy.
Can you believe it? Look how he hunches up to the basket. It's the same person.
That is wild. He is James Conrad.
The same. I've never seen it like anything like
this is what I saw.
Yeah, it looks
something like this,
too.
where he's like,
I need to find more coverage.
I need to find a video of him.
But like,
I'm watching the coverage. Right now.
See if you can see if he throws. See if it looks.
I don't know what he looks like, but I think I'll be able to tell.
The long hair,
you'll know.
The ponytail.
The James Conrad looking fellow.
Shout out to James. Because, good for James Conrad because I feel like all the new players, like, they imitate certain people. But this guy, he's like, no, James Conrad.
He's my guy.
Yeah.
World champ.
Loved it. It's great.
So, shout out James Collier. Way to play the game you're supposed to. Well done, sir. Way to stick within the rules.
This is round 1, front 9, so it's not helping me. He's not on here.
Yeah.
Round 1, front 9.
Okay. Let's look at our top 10 real quick.
Let's do it.
Let's look at our top 10 real quick because we need to update this Batman.
It's been a little bit.
It has been a little bit. I feel like Gannon Burr should probably take the top spot now. Most recently, he beat Anthony Barella at the Northwest Championship.
Defeat of, I think we can flip-flop them pretty safely.
Yeah, because after Cascade, we flipped him, I think. So
there's probably going to be a lot of that going on this year.
Probably. So Gannon Burr back in 1. Anthony Barella should be 2nd, for sure.
For sure.
Okay, after that, in the Pro Tour standings, they have Ricky 3rd. In our standings, we have Isaac 3rd.
Well,
so Isaac won Champions Cup, which has now been 5 events ago if you include the European events, 3 events if you don't.
Well, let's say about when's the last time did we update this after AB's last win? We probably did.
After Cascade, I believe, yes.
So we really only have to factor. Really, we can look at it and just say
they played once since then,
right?
And Isaac went 4th, Ricky went 5th.
That's what I'm saying. Like we pretty much can look at just what happened.
I think we probably want Ricky to be 3rd because Ricky just came in 2nd.
Yeah,
he beat him at Northwest.
Antela is going to be the interesting one because it's how many people does Antela jump? That's basically what this list comes down to.
Oh, does he jump anyone?
Well, he's in 7th right now. He just won.
Yeah, but he won in Europe against a weaker field. He didn't play the Northwest Championship. The last time we saw him on U.S. soil, he came in 28th at Cascade.
It's true. It's true.
I'm saying, well, first, we want Ricky to jump Isaac.
I'm fine with that.
Isaac did beat Ricky at Northwest.
And then he wasn't at this event.
But Cascade, Ricky beat Isaac 3rd to 10th. We might not have updated this after Cascade.
There's no way we would have put AB in the first spot if we hadn't of.
Maybe because Gannon came in 4th at Champions Cup.
So maybe we did it before Cascade.
We might have done it before because I just think we would have had Ricky jump Isaac. Maybe
right.
Not because Isaac won Champions Cup.
Yeah.
It's just how much does Isaac's Champion Cup win hold on?
Oh, I'm over it.
Okay, so then I think Ricky jumps Isaac, I think.
Respect. The good news is like.
So next we have Paul Macbeth.
We have an 11th right now.
We have Paul Macbeth right now. His most recent finish was 19th at the Northwest Championship. Niklas, who's kind of below him, didn't play. Kyle Klein, who is right below him, came in second there. So I feel like Kyle definitely needs to jump him.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at Kyle versus Rick. I think we're fine there. So I think Kyle versus Isaac. Kyle's beaten Isaac the last 2 weekends, last 2 tournaments.
Kyle might need to jump
but
up.
He came 21st at Champions Cup.
Ages ago.
So you think, 4th to 10th and then 2nd to 4th.
Yeah, I think he's trending up.
So let's go Kyle ahead of Paul and Isaac.
I want to try and stay pretty recent this year, so I like that because you got to keep it like nobody's thinking about Champions Cup anymore.
Correct. Okay. So now we have Kyle Klein, Isaac Robinson, Paul Macbeth, and Niklas is the next one on our list.
Yeah.
So Niklas didn't play Northwest. So what we have to go off of is 28th at Cascade. Then he was 7th at Konopiste, 1st at the Ale Open. How much do we factor those?
I think maybe enough to just jump like Paul.
So Niklas jumps Paul. Let's look at Niklas versus Paul recently. Cascade, Paul came in 6th. Niklas came in 28th. Champions Cup, Paul came in 20th. Niklas came in 21st.
Well, yeah, but that's what I say. Like that's so far back.
But they haven't played each other since then.
Yeah, but it's not just about if they've played each other or not. It's not always just an ELO.
All right, so Niklas jumps Paul.
I understand the win is different, but we're not asking him to go up to second place here. We're just asking him to make one leap.
Okay, so now Ezra Robinson versus Paul Macbeth. So since Champions Cup, Ezra went 8th, 14th, Paul went 6th and 19th. They're probably fine to stay where they are.
Not
I don't
really
think
anything going on there.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough for Ezra to jump him. We have Adam Hamez next. I think we really need to be looking at Ezra Aderhold to Adam Hamez.
I agree.
So if we're looking at the Cascade, Ezra went 13th to Hamez is 37th. And then at Northwest, Hamez went 42nd to Ezra Aderhold 5th.
Yeah, but then he also just took a 29th at a tournament with not a huge field.
But how much do you factor? Because he went to Konopiste and came in 34th, which is even worse field, and then came back and came in 5th against a very strong field.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good finish.
How much do you factor the fact that he's flying to Europe, not adjusting to the time?
Here's my take. My take is if you don't play a European event, it looks better than if you go and take 30th in a very weak field. That's my take.
So you think it looks better for Hamez to go 42nd, 37th, and not play the Europe events than for Ezra to go 13th, 5th?
I'm not saying Hamez should jump. I'm just saying.
Ezra Aderhold's not in our top 10 right now at all.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm just telling you. I think that does reflect poorly. Whoever ends up in that spot, I think Hamez, he might need moved out. But I'm just saying that's how I feel about those finishes. They're not
who we
good.
also need to be looking at is Simon Lazat, 2nd and 7th recently.
You're right.
Simon went 2nd, 7th at the last 2 U.S. events. Didn't play Europe, so that checks Trevor's bucket. He's a known Europe hater.
Yes, yes.
We have also Eagle McMahon 6th and 12th and didn't go to Europe.
Check my boxes again.
So Hamez is out for sure.
Get him out of here.
Hamez out of the top 10. We have Calvin Heimberg is the other guy to look at right now. He went 8th. No, he didn't play Cascade.
Yeah,
so he's 10th in Northwest.
In recent history.
10th at the Northwest Championship. So I think that Simon for sure jumps both of them. So Hamez is out. Gonzo. Simon Lazat is in right now in 9th. He might actually move up because he's been playing very solid recently.
Yeah.
So let's look at Calvin Heimberg to Ezra Aderhold and or Eagle McMahon, I think are the two to look at. So Ezra Aderhold is the 13th, 5th with the 34th and 29th. Eagle McMahon is 6th, 12th with no Europe. So
I hate this stretch
basically the exact same.
It's just so annoying.
They're basically the exact same, except for one went to Europe and played like poo-poo, and one didn't go to Europe.
Between Ezra and Simon, you're saying?
Ezra and Eagle.
Oh, and Eagle.
Because Eagle went 6th, 12th. Yeah. Ezra went 13th, 5th.
Oh, wow. So this is really just my theory.
This is just, yeah. So you're saying Ezra going over to Europe.
Wait, but Ezra won the head-to-head, though?
They would be tied head-to-head. Because it's 6th, 12th, and 13th, 5th.
Oh, my God.
Ezra was technically more recent, but he went to Europe in between.
Yeah, and he played like poo-poo.
Yeah.
Only top 5, though. I like Ezra more, so give it to him.
No, that's against everything you just said.
Well, it's a completely subjective take, and then I gave you another point of reasoning.
That's fine. Just completely.
Well, it's like think of like your scales,
you just
right?
Made
here are the scales,
made a bold
right?
Statement, and it's like 2 seconds later went against it.
This scale, okay, this is like he played kind of crummy in Europe, and then this scale, it's like, but he's hot, and
but
then
he just played crummy in Europe again.
Didn't outweigh it. It tried, but didn't quite.
All right. So Ezra's in, Eagle's out. Okay, let's
I like
look
his
at
haircut. What am I gonna do? Like,
let's
I'm
look
sorry.
at Simon Lizolt against.
and he takes sick pictures for Instagram of the world.
So Simon went 2nd, 7th. Ezra Robinson went 8th, 14th. Recently.
Say that one more time.
2nd, 7th for Simon, 8th, 14th for Ezra. So I think Simon's gonna jump him.
That's easy.
Okay. Jump there. Simon
The
Lizolt.
problem is with Simon, he can get so streaky that when we don't update these power rankings in a few weeks, he might just have like a stretch like that. But then the next time we look at it, we'll be like, he took 3 40th places in a row. Like, why was he in 8th?
Okay, so 2nd, 7th. Okay, does Simon need to jump anyone more? We got to look at Simon Lizolt versus Paul Macbeth. Paul went 6th, 19th. Simon 2nd, 7th. Probably jump him.
Yeah, I would say so, Hunt.
Simon's got to jump back up. Welcome to the top 7, Simon.
I think that's probably where
That's where he stops because then he
Yeah.
runs into Niklas Antela, which we're valuing the win.
We're valuing it.
We don't value Ezra's trip to Europe. We value Niklas's
No, I do
win.
value it negatively.
Apparently not.
Well, no, like you saw.
If
the
you
scales.
valued it negatively,
you saw the scales.
But he's tied. Literally, if you add their positions together, they have the same across 2 events. 18-18.
Yes. Keep going.
Then he goes to Europe,
Yes.
which should negatively weigh against him.
It does. Then keep going.
There is nothing else.
He's hot.
Oh, okay.
Wait, who's the other person that he's against?
Eagle McMahon.
Yeah, I said I
Yeah,
like him
not
more.
as hot.
It's
But
my
it's
power
just-
very good
rankings.
point.
This
Like,
is our power rankings. If it's your logic that it should have negatively
Well,
affect
do you
someone that goes to
disagree?
Europe.
Do you disagree? Do you think Eagle should be in the spot?
I don't know. I'm just blown away by your logic.
Then if you don't know
Hunter-
and I know, that's where it weighs.
Hunter, answer me this: who is hotter, Ezra or Eagle?
Ezra.
Seems like we have a
Easy,
consensus.
yeah.
This isn't a looks power ranking.
It factors in.
What do you think?
Look around
brings
the top
power?
10 and see if you
What,
notice
you think
anything.
ugly people are powerful?
Yeah.
Golly. The logic jump is just wild out here.
You got nothing to combat it with. Like,
Well, I mean, to Trevor's point,
But it's Trevor's logic is my whole problem. Because I'm not
right.
even the one that
Right,
said
you're
it.
right. I get what
I'm
you're
not even the
saying.
one that said Europe should negatively affect him. Trevor
Yeah,
did. And then
yeah.
it's like, never mind. Not for Ezra. What? Doesn't even make sense.
Trevor swipes until he sees that third picture. That's what he does on,
Okay.
on Ezra's account.
So now we got to look at Ezra Robinson. Do we even want to look at Ezra to
it might be
Ezra
dangerous.
Aderhold?
It could be dangerous at this point. Things have gotten a little turbulent.
We got Ezra went 8th, 14th to Ezra Aderhold's 13th, 5th.
Is
went
Ezra
eight.
Aderhold versus Robinson?
Yeah.
Oh, Robinson all the way.
Wait, it was 8.
Ezra's went 13th at Cascade.
Yeah.
Blacked out in Europe. Came back 5th in Northwest. Blacked out in Europe.
Wait, and what?
Robinson went 8th, didn't go to Europe. 14th, didn't go to Europe.
Wait, so Ezra didn't go to Europe.
And-
so
so
they're
here's
pretty
the
much
problem.
the same, but Ezra
But
Aderhold
he-
went to Europe and played bad?
Well, no, Ezra Aderhold is better on U.S. soil,
Yeah.
but played bad in Europe. Versus
Right.
Ezra Robinson didn't go to Europe and played slightly
But
worse.
see, I
in
think
US
the
soil.
Ezra I can't even do it.
Because you said
I was
going
gonna
to,
try
you
and-
said
I was-
going to Europe negatively affects
I
you.
didn't say that.
No, I know,
I
I'm talking to
didn't say
Trevor.
I was fully prepared there to cause an implosion.
And Ezra Robinson is
By-
at least equally as hot.
I couldn't even do it without laughing.
I like him more.
Okay, so now final comparison: Ezra Robinson to Eagle McMahon. Ezra Robinson 8th to 6th, 14th to 12th.
Why is that even a comparison? It sounds like Eagles better.
Because then he has to jump Ezra Aderhold, who you just put in front of him. So now Ezra Robinson, who you're keeping ahead of Ezra Aderhold, will bump Ezra Aderhold out of the top 10. You're fine with that?
Well,
That's what's going to end up happening.
no, I think Ezra Robinson had the highest finish of all of them, though, being 5th place. So I was extra points.
What? Ezra Aderhold had 5th.
That's what I meant. Aderhold.
So where do you want Ezra Aderhold in this? Because right now he should be 11th using your logic alone.
we have an 11th?
No, he should be all the top 10.
Oh, okay.
But you just said that he had the highest finish. So now who do you want him to jump?
I think we got to get him out of there.
Okay, I agree.
Dude, Trevor, he's not going to want to be your friend.
All it took was getting Eagle into competition with
You're
someone
right.
already ahead of Ezra
See,
Aderhold to show Trevor the flaw in his
I'm
logic.
glad we figured that
We
out.
found the fault in his
Yeah,
stars.
we're all happy.
Maybe okay will be our always.
Okay, so over to FPO, we have Kristen at a ghost 1 right now.
Yes.
Well, here's the problem. is Silva's in the top 5.
So we got a big problem on our hands with the FPO list.
Silva's in the top 5.
Huge problem. Why did she end up we decided we were going to put her in the ghost spot until
the field rejoined.
Right, but
we
problem
left
is,
Silva.
Yeah, we left Silva in there.
And now
like
Silva has
placeholder.
beaten Kristen
Sheesh.
in Europe.
I think we just put.
So now what do we do? Because we have Missy 1, Holland 2, Silva, Paige, Own. We also have Holland just 1. Missy came in 2nd, so they've got to flip.
Here's a take. I think we go Holland 1.
Okay.
Because I think the Silva, Missy, or Kristen thing just got dicey. I think we go Holland 1, Kristen 2, Silva 3.
Even though Silva just beat Kristen.
I know, but it's one of it. What does that go back? Like, what if you go back? Like, have they've been playing each other, right?
Yeah. So Kristen is 2 of the last 3 she's won.
Just
3
the
of the
most
last
recent
4
one
she's won. 4 of the last 5
playing
she's
so well.
won.
No, you know what? Let's be a power rankings. Give it to Silva. Let's be a power rankings.
But we're giving Silva over Missy.
That's the one we got to look at.
So for Silva and Missy to play, the
just
first time they go
never
Champions
play
Cup
each
was the
other.
last time they
Yeah,
played.
that's ancient
and
history.
Missy won.
That's ancient history.
Okay, so we're ignoring that.
Yeah, let's go Silva, then Kristen, then Missy, then maybe Paige. I think probably Paige.
Okay, so Holland, Silva,
Kristen,
Missy,
probably Paige. We need to look
and
at this.
then most likely Paige. So recently Paige Pierce.
What,
the
third,
frick's
second,
Paige?
third?
She went 3rd, 2nd, 3rd.
Yeah.
So that's got to be Paige.
Shout out Paige Pierce.
Okay.
Paige Pierce.
Yeah.
So we have Holland Hanley 1, Silva Saarinen 2, Kristen Lott 3, Missy Gannon 4, Paige Pierce 5.
Love it. And the ghosts have been defeated. Call us Ghostbusters.
There you go.
Ghostbusters.
All right. Time for the fan favorite segment. That's not true. Trevor's trivia
It
already
might be
happened.
true.
It could be. It
I would
probably
say
is at
host
this point.
favorite.
Host favorite.
Yeah, it is definitely the host
Internal favorite.
Yeah.
Silas Selects.
Okay.
Con goes first because he's still trying to select.
Yeah, because Con
That is
sucks.
true. Con sucks.
What's speaking to you today, Con?
Other than my
I'm just
boy
looking
Hunt.
so deep into my mind right now to find this disc.
I really feel as if I have 2 options.
No, you have more than 2 options.
There's a lot of options.
There's a lot of
No, but I've
options.
canceled out the rest of them.
Okay.
It's either a buzz
Okay.
or a leopard.
I don't like it when
Which
you
one?
can't hear me.
And
You
so
can't change anything, Trev.
I know, yeah, you definitely. I
Excuse
don't
me.
like. I
Yeah,
don't like
so
being
I'm
able
gonna
to read
go. It's a buzz.
Buzz.
them. I'm taking. Oh, go ahead, hon.
I think he went back-to-back weeks. I'm going Mongoose.
That'd be crazy.
I'm
You think
taking- he's not
Silas?
like-
there-
no.
Silas probably doesn't even remember he chose the
I'm taking.
mongoose.
I'm taking the octane.
Octane.
I really hope it's a buzz. I want to win.
Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is.
Wide rim driver. Wide rim driver.
A guard.
Oh, that's
this
such a
guy's
good
so
pick.
good.
That's such
That
a good
wasn't even
pick.
close.
Such a
That
good
wasn't
pick.
even close.
Nobody thinks
No
about
one
the
even-
guard.
No, we had our guard down.
Such a.
Ah, that's
our
what he
guard
was
down.
thinking. That's what he was thinking.
Shoot!
I'm gonna get in his mind for the next
The
one.
guard. What a pick. Nobody thinks. Nobody even remembers that exists.
Oh, and we were talking about the old guard of disc golf.
It
oh
should've
my
been in our
gosh,
forefront.
it's connected. Follow the signs.
It should have been in our forefront.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this week's show. Be sure to tune into the preview show for the Preserve Championship presented by Simon Line. Fun fact there.
I thought you were saying our show was.
No, the Preserve is presented by Simon. That's just fun. It's a
That
good
is
time.
fun.
Talk to you then.